Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy and excited to welcome every one of you and also the colleagues from the steering committee to our second day of the Jomba MASIHAMBISANE Dialogues, edition 5, with today's provocation on normative worlding. And it's an extreme pleasure, and my heart is full and excited to welcome Pêdra Costa today with us, that will share experiences and we get some insights on their work. Hello, Pêdra. How are you today?
Hi, hello. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Everything's fine?
You do.
Good morning. Thank you for the invitation. I'm really excited to be here. And I'm really excited for the questions and to see where we are going in the next 1 hour.
Yes, Pêdra and I were a little bit exchanging on how we, let's say, dive into the session. And I think Pêdra's body of work is extremely rich, extremely complex. And we said, we want to give us some space also to, for the unknown, to see what happens. And I think this is also linked to, I say the spiritual approach, or the approach to the, let's say, other side. And this is also how Pêdra and I met, because we met through a dear colleague and friend of ours, Sunanda Mesquita, who works with Hannah Madance as a dramaturge. And Pêdra is working with tarot. So actually we had a tarot session together with like a very crowded room full of ancestors. But before we go into it, I will introduce Pêdra. Pêdra Costa, they, she, is a groundbreaking, formative Brazilian visual and urban anthropologist, performer, and tarot reader based in Berlin that utilizes intimacy to connect with collectivity. They work with their body to create fragmented epistemologies of queer communities within ongoing colonial legacies. Their work aims to decode violence and transform failure whilst tapping into the powers of resilient knowledge from a plethora of subversive ancestralities and spiritualities that have been integral, anti-colonial, and necropolitical survival. So, the complexities there.
Everybody, everyone is a complex machine, let's say like this. So there is something new in my bio, that I'm moving from Berlin to Vienna. Berlin now, Germany is a bit tough at the moment, and I have already everything that I want from Berlin. So I have my friends, I have my friends, family, queer family in Berlin. So now I'm moving to Vienna to achieve different complexities, let's say like this.
Yeah, beautiful. This is what I wanted to ask, because I remember that you said that you're moving to Vienna now. And I mean, Austria had a quite nice twist, but the turnout was not as bad as it could have been. So what I think, I'm proposing that we watch a video, because I think it's nice. It's from 2017, so it's quite a while.
Yes.
But when I saw it, I found it gives a very deep insight to, like, I think, your life and your career. So let's watch that. It's 8 minutes.
Yes, the video was filmed in Vienna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wesley.
I think radicalism is absolutely necessary to get any change in the world. Nothing changes without radical, movement. You need forces.
What's radical for me, it doesn't have to be radical for you, or for my mom, it could be really radical, or
My first memory of life when I was 2 years old was homophobia. And so everything started from this point on.
I grew up being heavily indoctrinated, like pretty extremist. My parents believed in what the Bible said, that it was better to stone your child to death than to let them be rebellious, because they would infect the rest of your children. My parents didn't let us go to school because the public school would corrupt us. And so when I was 13 years old, I could read because a neighbor taught me, and I could add and subtract, and that was it. And when I was looking around at 13 years old and realizing this is all I know how to do, I told my parents that if they didn't send me to school, I was going to call the police. They did not like that. I'm the first in my family to graduate high school.
The only safe space for me was in my religion, and then was the only safe space. But the rest, my whole life in Brazil was super aggressive. It was like violence every day. Like physical violence, symbolic violence, and the whole kind of violence. So for me it's easy to understand what kind of violence I have to deal here in Europe.
Me, I just left Bosnia and came to Vienna in one moment, and it felt kind of a small failure to me because I kind of ran away. If I was sure that these threats or like these things that were happening to me would change something, I would stay. But I was sure, like many before me, that like if I don't know, get hurt or die, that's gonna change much. It's gonna be just me being hurt or dead. I don't know.
This train of white supremacy and patriarchy is so strong and powerful, and it's moving fast. So you need a force that's going to stop that. Hey, I'm not going to like feed it to you on this like cushy pillow. I'm just going to tell you like that's what it is. Hey, look, that's shit. Don't step in it.
I transform shit in power. This is not so common here in Europe because you are separated. You categorize everything and to say what you are and if you have rights to live or not. And the most dangerous knowledge as well, the knowledge that kill more people and are killing more people through the centuries. Because what is anthropology? Anthropology was a kind of weapon to kill cultures, like the different cultures, without a war. You have to go there. Yeah. You have to be friends,
Yeah.
You have to make friends there and to be peace and love with everybody, to learn and the language and so on, so on, so on. So in anthropology you have this kind of shit. You never connect the theory with your body. It's like you have theory here, you have the body here. They are not connected. And this is anti-colonial. When we connect both, when you embody the theory, you are so strong. I love it because it's so easy to catch them.
Like, yeah, come on, I mean, it's 21st century, I don't have to prove anything to you or to, like, I don't know, give a massage of your back so you can let me stay in your country, that's not how it works. This is a planet Earth, come on.
Why I dance samba? Because the people said, are you from Brazil? Oh, okay, you dance samba, right? Like, no, I don't dance samba. I don't like samba, I don't dance samba. I hate capoeira, everything. When I make samba, I have to be like beautiful, like. This is the colonial fantasy, do you know? I'm not free of your judgment.
Comece a me chupar. Metendo pra lá e pra cá. Comece a me chupar, comece a me chupar. Depois come meu cozinho só pra me fazer gozar. Comece a me chupar, comece a me chupar.
After my bachelor, I started to read about queer theory, and I say, fuck, do you know, so I was doing something like this, because queer is not only about gender, it's about everything, structures of power.
For me, it was radical at the moment to get married. And I had a really huge dilemma about it in my head, because what that means then, that I failed in every kind of queer activism that I did before, or was it a failure, or was it like just a new, I don't know, picture in my life, and then actually I thought a lot about it, and then I realized that like if you try to define queer, you cannot really define it. And I don't know what is marriage actually, and I don't only know that like, for my relationship it has its own rules and its own universe, sorry. And yeah, it's what I make out of it. So if it's queer and radical to be married for me, then it is.
For sure, the food is really radical, because if you don't have food, you don't get food, you can't fight, no, you can't think. And I learned a concept about sharing in another way, in another level, no? Like what you have to learn here through theories, for example, the left movement and so on. I learned it because it was my life. You know, like it was my day life. When you have for one side people that have the privilege to choose, you know, to learn about sharing or not, we don't have. You know, you have to share.
It's reality. And again, if like those of us who are aware of it aren't doing it, who the fuck's gonna do it?
I just think that there are just different opinions from different people from different backgrounds and different focuses in their life. And radical, I don't know what's really radical about me. I still don't get it, but yeah, maybe just I would say radicalism is maybe trying to change things. I would put it like that. And if that's really what radicalism is, then aren't everybody radical somehow? It's the wind, probably.
Man hört sogar die Mädchen in der Polizei sprechen.
Cool background.
Now imagine what the police can actually.
Thank you. Yeah. I write landed in my body as like somatic response, which is fantastic. And
Beautiful.
was
It was so
in
it
the-
was so crazy, the week, because it was inside of a cine festival, no, a festival of cinema about documentary. So in Vienna, and then they had a workshop, and they split the group in three people, no, in small groups of three people, and they had 6 days to film, and they did everything. And the top of the three girls were like a radical mind, and one of them knew me before, and then she asked me, can I film you, can I make an interview with you? And I said yes, of course. And was in the week was, I think, from Thursday to Wednesday, something like this, or Tuesday. I was doing a lot of events. I was making a concert in a queer party. I was making the night school. That's a project that I was responsible for cooking. Like in Brazil, the night schools, the schools in the evening is for adults, and then they arrived from the work, like all day in the work, morning and afternoon, and they arrived in the school in the evening, and they have a food. First they eat, they have a dinner, and then they go to the school. So like this was the principle of this event. Because of this, there is this part in the kitchen that I was like, I work with recycled food, like and sharing now, like recipes, um let's say creative recipes with everybody that came before the class. So this was the idea, and then the interview at the home that was based in that moment. Yeah, talking about anthropology and things like this.
Yeah, I feel this like the connections that are made in the video between like survival, existence, and the somatic and food is resonating very strongly with me. I woke up this morning and the first thing I had in my head was we were never meant to survive from Untitled. I don't know why, but maybe it's also this collective consciousness, and we went through an intense day yesterday. And I think so it was so strongly there in my head. And I don't know if it was my own voice or it was the voices from all of those who are not surviving at the moment. And again, the empire proving that it has the power to decide whether one survives or not. But also the food level is something that is so underestimated, like in the work like I do with other grassroots organizations in Germany. We are always struggling with, for example, making the bridge to the funders. In Germany, you are not allowed to buy food. So, and then whilst it's a program that wants to foster whatever diversity, DI, blah, 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 it always, you have to like find a way to be able to share food, because this is not part of the funding structure, which is so racist and so Eurocentric in a way of like what you said, you have the choice whether you share or not, but most of the people in the world, they don't have the choice. And then I feel like this level of texture also, I think this research will go on for very long, where I'm researching on Southeast Asian textures and with a special focus on jelly and floss, because these textures are so essential in food, but they are also part of the body, all of the jelly-ish, the intestines, the slime, and then also the floss, which is, I mean, in food, there's a lot of like, pork floss or this like dried shrimp floss, all of the floss. But this is also like the fascia is floss. So I think these levels that somehow come together like that, while intellectually, eventually they don't, if you would research it just on an academical level, but they are part of life. So I was wondering how you bring that intimate part that you say, and that to transform balance to collectivity through, I would say, different kinds of offerings or sharings. How do you, is there like, how do you do it? Or how do you dive into it? Because maybe it's also not something, I mean, I imagine that it's maybe not something that's happened intellectually, but deep down.
This is a question that you can stay here like 10 hours talking about. Only this one.
Yeah.
This is a really beautiful question. It's not simple or easy to answer, but I think in our daily life it's more simple than it looks like. I think it's something about culture. No? It's something about what kind of thing you have learned from your parents, from your grandparents, and so on. For example, about the food. Now that I was talking about like, because of course I'm from Brazil, I came to Berlin, and now I'm moving to Vienna, no? So, and in Berlin, is let's say when I arrived there in 2010, was a super political city with many queer people, queer movements, people from everywhere. Uh, so queer people with different connections and knowledge and so on. And what I saw in the left movement in Berlin was something like about sharing, no? That they're like learning how to share, no? How to have food, make parties, and to occupy buildings, no? To have a house, no? Simple things that the constitution of the countries of the world, of the human rights, say that everybody has to have access, like food, house, and things like this. And what for me was interesting because when I went to the German houses for meetings, have a food, was like only one plate, a bit of bread, a bit of salad. I was like, this is not food, like. And this is a cultural thing, because I used to have roots, like cassava, yam, beans, like strong food. I don't eat meat, but like foods that give me strength to to survive the day life. This was one thing that was super strange for me, and you couldn't repeat the plate because there's not so much food. I was like, maybe this is something cultural. I don't know. They think this kind of food is healthy, or if this food is, or maybe they are afraid to have a new war moment that they have to keep food, that they cannot eat. I don't know, like many questions, but it's not up to me to answer them. And yeah, so this was one thing. But when I come back, when I was a baby, when I was born, my mom, for example, had a lot of milk. And then she gave milk to me, of course, for 2 years. Because of this, I have this skin, because 2 years having milk from my mom. So, and at the same time, she offered milk for 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 babies in the neighborhood, no? That like that moment, some girls 70 years old, 20 years old are having babies and they had no milk. And then my mom was sharing the milk. So like, and this was the first moment that I was sharing indirectly food or something, no? So it was a process of learning, right? Through the experience, no, not through theories, do you know? Because what is the difference? Uh, because of this, I was saying that you can stay 10 hours talking here because I don't go in a linear way. It's not 1, 2, 3. I mean, like 110, 103, 1,005. Like I have no linear way to talk about things. So, and this is um, so I forgot a bit, but I will come back. um, this was the first thing, and then when I was growing up, like we lived in a neighborhood that was quite okay, was not so poor, was not rich, was like a middle class poor. But some people in the street, our neighbors, they had no food sometimes, and then like to have a lunch, for example, and to give lunch to the children. So, and then my mom, the same time, like cook it beans and rice and then share with, like without my father knows because he was not so into this. He was more like selfish somehow. And this is the difference, I think, from the South, what I call global South, or what the colonial project calls global South, and the global North. Like in the global North, you learn how to be an individual. Like I am Pêdra Costa, and I talk to you that I am Pêdra Costa, and you have to accept and respect, and it doesn't matter. Point, This is like the individualization of the self, let's say something like this. But in the global south, mainly for the indigenous First Nations communities now, it's like the community says, you are Pêdra Costa. And then I become Pêdra Costa. Because if the community don't recognize me, I am a ghost. I'm invisible, So, and then, of course, in Brazil, you have the European culture, European academic stuff, and ways of learning and exchange. And to become a individual, a person, from and through this European academic psychological way of being. But at the same time, you have now many different First Nations communities saying that I'm not Pêdra Costa. If I want to be Pêdra Costa, it's not possible for me alone to become Pêdra Costa. I have to become Pêdra Costa because my communities, in my case, queer communities, immigrants communities, travelers communities, they say that I am Pêdra Costa. So in that way, I think we have a really beautiful crisis point against the brand of artists, because I can become a brand, no, like Nike, whatever, Coca-Cola, whatever, things that I don't consume, by the way. McDonald's, okay, no, like, um, sorry, they have to pay us. um, um, to become this kind of brand like Pêdra Costa, the artist. I hate this kind of thing. Like I think some people they really deserve to become this big name. Mainly people from the global south, non-white people, non-rich people, etc., non-academic people sometimes. But what Europe created as an artist, how to become an artist, is super violent. It's super colonial, It's super like not sharing, It's like, girl, I want to, I want to have this money and to share with everybody, Not only for me. Why I have to have 100,000 euros in my bank account? 100,000. Yeah.
This is, yeah.
It doesn't make sense for me. And
No,
I don't go for it, because of this. I'm an underground artist. I'm underground because I'm not sharing the same values of this art market, Not in this life, maybe the next life, but in this life, not.
I was sharing it yesterday in another session because the one also grassroots-based company that I also co-created, and we were running on governmental money, and now we finishing the money, and everybody's like, because I had a burnout, and running that white money, and you become a machine in administrating that money, and you can't do it, you can't subvert it, because otherwise you will be a criminal, and then so the price you have to pay is so high sometimes, And it comes from, or definitely from, a place of privilege, because also now in Germany, a lot of artists are not speaking up because they're censored. And I know it's a big body of shame building on that as well. Now people are losing their existences and don't know what to do. But I think it's slowly changing. People prefer to do something that is not funded, and we come together, we create it as a community, we find ways to cook, to eat. I remember when I grew up in Bavaria, so Berchtesgaden, close to Salzburg, so right under the former Hitler house with my Chinese dad and my white mom. And I remember that my dad, when he came from Hong Kong, and my dad's family, they were refugees from Canton province in the Cultural Revolution. So my dad used to go to the supermarkets and take that food that was thrown away. And he was shamed. And I also was like, so like in that white culture. And he was the only sane person. He was the only person who did the right thing. They're throwing away food that you still can eat, so take it. But it was illegal, actually. And then later on, also, like, I feel like the story of food is a very important story in my life. Having to go, because, I mean, not having to, but I wanted to be a dancer, so I did ballet. And then I had an eating disorder. But I think now I understand that this eating disorder was actually because my dad left. And there was no more Chinese food. Because he was the only person there. There were only white people and my Chinese dad. So I stopped eating. And this was because I couldn't share the food with my dad. And the food was gone. So both of the act of sharing, the act of togetherness over a congee, a rice porridge, all of that was nourishing me was gone. So I stopped eating. But I only understand it now because I was thinking, yeah, this was ballet and this is what happens. But also in terms of having all of these, but a lot of exhausted bodies who work in the German-speaking cultural landscape, I would say, maybe one can call it radical in my projects, because I feel like sharing food is the most important part of the whole project. I mean, as we rehearse, we work, we co-create, however you want to call that. But if you don't eat, I feel like we haven't accomplished the task, because sharing food together is actually what becomes the body of the work. If you don't share food, and like Eurocentric way of working, food doesn't matter. I mean, you're in the studio for 8 hours and then, I don't know, you have to feed yourself some time. You have a muesli bar somewhere in between. But it's so against a natural connectivity, and also how I would define creation. How can I use my body as the tool that I create with when I don't feed it and I don't share and we don't become something collective through food? But yeah, this is very not understood here yet. But I mean, it's a healing process for everyone to go through that. And then also later on what it does to the body. Because if you don't feed the body doesn't function, the intestines don't function. I mean, it's a very somatic level of the decolonial project that we are, I think, trying to frame. Maybe, and I think in this moment we can bridge to our second video, but I also think maybe
Wait,
you explain,
Hannah,
then we
wait,
slowly, yeah.
wait. You shared something so beautiful and so intimate from your life and so private. And thank you for your sharing. I think, of course, everything that you said is true, but I think the ballet, the classic ballet, was responsible as well to give
Yeah.
you some. Yeah, I did for 2 years and a half classic ballet, and then the the girls, they start to, something happened. Another day I tell you this story, but something happened, and then on stage, and then the girls start to call me like a killer of ballerinas, and then I left. It was terrible. Another day I tell you this because another story, but yes, I think, for example, at the moment I'm in Hanover now in Germany, in this dance art festival that is, the opening is tonight. And I have a dance presentation here, Saturday and Sunday. And it's interesting because we have, of course, we have some foods like apple, banana, these bars, these sweet stuff, coffee. And I'm like, no, I want have food, like banana, apple. It's beautiful, it's amazing, but it's not enough for me. And I feel so like super weak, like at the end of the day, I'm like, I have no energy anymore. And but I'm glad that one of the dancers is Brazilian, based here, and she will cook beans on Saturday, for us to get strong enough to have the premiere to make the presentation, because like it's impossible. But yeah, let's go to the next video. Thank you.
Yeah, Wesley, so we are ready for the next video, which is a work by Pêdra.
И особенно о наших задах. Эта яростная критика исходит из наших задних проходов.
The butthole investigations are theoretical and practical always. Theory is on the skin and the practice comes from life. The theory only exists if there is the experience. It only transforms itself if it goes through the body. The thought and butthole is movement. The constraint and rigid system of the body do not flow in these studies. We do not fight against anything. Our fights were always defeated. We already learned about this in the history of the world. We are sorceresses and healers. Our dance and our ginga is our fight, our way of loving, playing, being in connection with our community. We are always collective, never individuals. The artfulness is the basis of our whole life against the colonizers' project. Artfulness is not learned and taught. Our knowledge would never be recognized if they were not appropriated by white and or Europeanized knowledge and bodies. Our voices are not audible. Thus, we have all the autonomy and authority to found search studies. Try as we might, we will never be authorized as a field of knowledge by whiteness. We move forward criticizing the colonial fantasies about our bodies, and specifically butts. Our first criticism comes from our buttholes. Our butthole is our power. So many interdictions, religious and colonial fantasies about our butts. Anthropophagy does not unite us anymore. We already ate them as a condition violently imposed by the colonial civilizing education. Now we vomit them and we shit them to the self of the world, to the butthole of the body.
Thank you, Pêdra.
It's organic.
Yeah.
It is organic.
And I mean, I feel like I always have read my body to understand the theory behind, I would say, the balance and what I went through, what I experienced in life. And it comes from very deep down, also talking about what happened. Yeah, I gave birth to 2 children, but also what happens when you see someone passing away. And you say, listen to your guts, but it's basically, the colon and the anus, and it has the very strong reaction somatically on trauma. And also, I think like when you look at the colonial project, taking away certain foods, indigenous foods, and bringing other food in that doesn't serve the bodies, and it will affect directly from there the whole system. So from an individual system inside to the outside, and then destroying communities. And I feel like it is also where I would start linking the term necropolitical that you have in your bio, because it literally also starts there. This is how I feel it, the balance of taking away foods, the balance of invading certain body parts, the balance of rape as a practice of raw. How do you...
Another question for more 10 hours.
I'm like, all my questions are like...
So I think, we are talking about Colon, no? Like Christopher Colon, the colonizer of America, let's say like this. This now the fantasies, and then the colonial now from the colon, the guy that started the colonization now, and then this work, this manifesto. This is my inside of my rectus, no, my because of this is organic inside. You see the image, and then there is the manifesto. Talk about going to the inviting people to go to the south of the world and to the south of the body. That's the butthole. Because a lot of interdictions now and colonial fantasies about the south and about the butthole, even many different religions in the world, or in the biology, or in the anal phases of Sigmund Freud, like a lot of interdictions about everything for this part of the body. And then at the same time, you have the topic of food and you have the topic of digestion, and because of this, I said anthropophagy does not unite us anymore. Now, because anthropophagy was like this artistic movement from Brazil, from São Paulo, the biggest city in Brazil, that's like responsible for the academic thoughts and for the new artwork in Brazil, this kind of thing. Like a New York, like a Berlin, like a Tokyo, London. And was this movement, the anthropophagic movement, was made by rich people, rich artists. Of course, it's easy to do a movement when you are rich and you don't know all the rich people in the city, the biggest city in your country, do you know? So, and then of course, like they said, the Oswald de Andrade wrote a manifesto, is an anthropophagic manifesto, and they said only anthropophagy unite us. Anthropophagy is this term from Levi Strauss, talking about eating the other, or the cannibal, the ritualistic cannibalism, something like this. So the manifesto or the idea of this art movement was to eat the other, to eat the European person or the European ideas, digest, transform, and to have a new product from this, like what they have plus what I have, and then you create something new, no? The synthesis of these two encounters. But what you have to say, what you have to understand, or what is clear, no? If you study history, you don't have to go so deep, no, into this. So you see that this European knowledge was not a negotiation between my knowledge and the knowledge from the others. Do you know, like, was not a dance together to have two different knowledge and create something new because we both decided for was something imposed. Do you know, or you learn this or I kill you. So in that moment, in this process, is not anthropophagy itself. You know, it's different, and then it goes into the consequences of the war and etc. Was a super violent thing, and because of this, like I think the most radical queers academic people in Brazil in the 2010 2012 started to talk about anthropoemy. That's the opposite of anthropophagy. Is like to vomit, to shit, to pee. You know, like I don't accept this. I don't want to eat this. You know, I have no body. I have no intestine and stomach to digest this knowledge. I don't want, you know. So, and of course, I'm part of this radical movement in Brazil as well, but it's not so common. It's not so well known because it's from again the underground people, people without money, people without places of power in the society. And yes, but I think you have many different layers in this manifesto. I like manifestos because it's something super short, but something on point. Do you know?
Yeah.
Because this kind of thing, I'm not saying that better, bad. What I'm saying that I don't like, for example, to have to write 400 pages to say something that I can say in one manifesto, you know. And if you want, you can go word by word, sentence by sentence, and make your own research to understand what I'm talking about. You know, it's not my it's not my problem. So like I think knowledge is amazing. I think everybody can get a lot of knowledge and through life, through books, through whatever. You don't have to be in the school to be a wise person. You know, a lot of people in the in the school, in the university, that they are not wise at all. No. So this is not the topic. But yeah, I think like I was when you were like making the question, I was thinking about this necropolitics of agriculture in Brazil, no? Like the you know I will not say the names as I said before, the names of the people that they have this kind of toxic things. How is the name of this in English? In the agriculture, they have these toxic things to kill the insects, to kill um,
Pesticides and
pesticide, this kind of pesticide and things. They are using a lot in Brazil now. They have permissions to use this a lot. And what is happening now in the last years in Brazil? We have an increasing a high level of people with cancer in the intestine. For example, in my nuclear family in Brazil, so there is my father, my mother, two sisters, and then each sister has a husband, and then each sister has a little boy, you know? So like and me, but I'm not there, so I'm not counting with myself. Okay, so 8 people there, my nuclear family, let's say 8 people there. So like my father had, my older sister had, and the husband of another sister had. So like 3 people out of 8 had cancer in the intestine, only in my family. So like this is from where? This is from where? And they have access to have good food. They can buy good food.
Yeah.
So where this is from?
Yeah,
These are necropolitical project.
it is. Yeah. And it happens on many levels when it comes to food processing and directly poisoning the body. Yeah. It is 10:51. I think I would invite everyone who is watching, if you have a question, you want to engage, then you're very much invited to do so from now on. But I would also think, for me, the link to the spiritual, which I found so essential in your work.
Food is spiritual. We are talking about spirituality all the time here.
Exactly.
If you wanna become a spiritual person, share food.
Yeah.
This is like people think that I have to see spirit, I have to pray to God, to goddess, or I have to offer food for God, goddess. Like offer food for your neighbor.
Yeah.
He, she, they need food. And of course, you can offer 1 glass of water, to the god and goddesses. They will be happy if you share food with your neighbor, They don't need food. They are already god and goddesses. Like the food is different food. It's the wind, is it's a non-pollution air, things like this. We are talking since the beginning. We are talking about spirituality.
Yeah. What I wanted to say is like the how do you perceive the ancestors being there with you? I mean, it's something that also we had to talk about, because I think yesterday with Robert, who explained like that you as a child, one is so connected with all of it, and I felt it too. And then there's a moment when the mind takes over, and then you start to feel disconnected, and then at a certain point you remember and you remember, for example, through food, and you reconnect, and then you get eventually back to this all connectedness.
Yes.
But when it comes to the tarot project, like working with tarot cards and making that also artwork, this is where you won this prize, no? The Standard Bank.
Yeah, Estebank Art Award 2023. I got the prize. There was an art installation about the tarot cards. Yeah, so but it's interesting because tarot is somehow spiritual, but it can be scientific too, no? So like normally when I work in the art market with spirituality, I work in a way that you can read as spiritual and we can read as scientific, because if not, they don't accept. The art market doesn't accept like spirituality, and because they cannot access, they cannot understand what we're talking about, and then your knowledge is not valid. So you have to be really like why I was working with tarot, because Carl Jung, has a book or has a theory talk about the major arcanas of the tarot and the archetypes. So it's science, you can place tarot as science. So because of this, because if I talk only about spiritual, the tarot, like they will not accept. I know. It's like a snake tongue, baby. Snake tongue. You have to talk one thing and two different audience understand differently what we want to say, you know? It's like this kind of strategy against the colonial project, academic project, or emptiness bodies project, you know? Bodies without spirit, bodies without ethics. Because spirituality, you can believe or you cannot believe in spirituality. It's not my problem, do you know? I believe it because in this life it's impossible to don't believe in spirituality, because since I was born I was in the middle of everything. So, but this is my problem, my individual path, do you know? If you wanna become a spiritual person, a spiritual I don't know, leader or a spiritual individual alone person in your, you know, searching for connection with spirituality, be ethical, you know, be an ethical person. What is to be an ethical person? You don't kill people, you don't let people suffering, you know, you don't let people die because they don't have food, do you know? You share what you have. Like if you have a lot of money, you share part of this money, do you know? Like you work in collective, like you are not alone. So like these are minimum, no? Ethical position in the world. So like this is spirituality for me, do you know? Because you have a body, we are suffering. You are going, like you said, in your history of life, went through traumas, no? All of us, no? And then if you don't, you don't do things to feel more in connection, you know? How do how we go through 2005, 2006, 2007, do you know? Because you not get better. What I heard about from spirituality that you not get better, do you know? So we have to prepare ourselves,
Yeah.
do you know?
I think this, to make the link to what you said earlier about the process of becoming an individual and then becoming disconnected. And I think a lot of people here, they don't know what it feels to be connected at all, because they never experienced it. So you try to become whole while, I don't know, focusing more and more on the manifest world and like, yeah, making your individual bigger by owning and by having and by not sharing, and then it isolates more and more, especially with what is happening now in the world politically, and people want to shut all borders down and even more, and, you know, blaming whatever people for like their unhappiness because of the not embodied knowledge of the collective and of the community. But
Yeah.
how would you say to move forward to end this?
Free will, free choices. Let's respect the free will of people, but it's not my choice. I choose to come together. I choose to say no to necropolitical projects if it's possible. No, sometimes it's not, but I'm because it's like I just cannot, do you know, like work in things that's really like this energy of stacking, energy of death, energy of you have to become an individual, a brand, do you know? So like I just cannot. Like if the people invite me, I will say like, okay, let's do it. But in the middle of the process, I will say I don't want this anymore. So because I don't feel alive, and this for me is like natural, do you know? So, but I think we can just show them through our lives, our experience. Like I am like this. If you open your eyes, come
Yeah.
with me, do you know? If not, stay where you want or where you can.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah. I love to take that away as like an ending to that we leave the spaces where we don't feel alive at. I mean, I think a lot of us do, but really to have it here as an awareness of like trusting that sensation of being not alive that is we got so used to in capitalism and patriarchy, to also silence oneself and to mute oneself, to not feel that unaliveness, but to just walk away and to say no and check one's own safety and their own borders, the healthy borders. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Mujeres Creando, Women Creating from La Paz, Bolivia. They say happiness is our revenge.
Yeah. We must end. This time was
Yes.
flying so quickly, and yeah, like wish we could continue, but I think a lot will process and think. Yeah, thank you for being there. Thank you for doing what you do, being in this world. It's beautiful to be here in this time and space with you.
Yes, let's do together. Like now, we are doing together at the
Yeah,
moment. For 1 hour, we did together.
yeah, and it's all about that togetherness, no? So yeah,
Yes.
and
Thank you, everything. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. Keep it doing. I wanna see you the next edition, the next year. I will be following you on YouTube. So I'm really happy for the event. I think it's really important that you need this kind of event more and more. I'm tired of European institutions. So like now.
join the Jomba.
Thank you.
Yes, sending love. So I think maybe we can breathe in together and out also to everybody who is sitting here with us now. Bye bye, Pêdra. Thank
Bye
you
bye. Thank you. Have a beautiful
so much
day.
tonight in Hanover.
Yes.
Yes, and take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye. See you around.
Bye bye. Bye.